Hey guys, welcome to another episode of On Air. Really excited about this one. I've got Will Holden, who is the co-founder at Vidu, joining me today. And I've spoken to Will in the past a little bit, and we've had a few riffs on LinkedIn and there's a couple of really good conversations about this topic. So excited to have him on. We are going to be exploring how you use GIFs and memes and other forms of creative media in your sales process and in your outreach. Where do you use it? Where do you not use it? How well does it really work? And I'm going to be throwing some good old questions at Will to see how he helps us learn about that today. But before we get into topic, Will, first and foremost, hello, welcome to the show. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for having me. Really
Pleasure.
excited to be here. And I loved our LinkedIn engagement, by the way.
It was good.
Yeah,
Really good.
I really did. Yeah.
But you know, I'm a big, I talk about it to people all the time. You see people getting really antsy on LinkedIn because they disagree.
Yeah.
I think, Jesus,
Yeah.
if I every time I disagreed, I fell out with somebody, I'd have been married about 20 times by now. So I think
Yeah.
it's all good, right? It's all good to
Well,
disagree.
you and me both, and also, like, I'll be honest, I just can't disagree with people at length. It's so tiresome, you know. It's like I can't. I've been in a few, like, what do you call them? LinkedIn spats or battles, and it's just the energy is sucked right out of me. So, you know, everyone's got their own opinion and their own perspective. There are ways to work together, yeah. And our conversation was actually a really good one. Yeah.
It's great, and I really, always admire the way that people debate when it doesn't become personal, but it becomes a professional opinion, and we're trying to convince each other, show each other a different way of looking at things, and I think that's how you learn. That's why I'm on the platform, and that's why we should be on the platform, to learn from each other and collaborate. Anyway, look, before we get into topic, because I feel you and I could probably easily just dive in, we like to give our guests 2 minutes. 2 minutes on who's Will, who are Vidu, just for the people that don't know you already.
Yeah, so I'm Will. We know that by now. Jesus. Okay. So I have a background in sales pretty much all my professional career. More recently, I was building the EMEA outbound sales team at Intercom, the SDR team. And I was there for about 5.5 years in total. Maybe the last 2.5, 3 years, I was building out that team. It was incredibly challenging. We discovered an awful lot about what makes an outbound engine work and tick over really well. And that's where I met my now co-founder, Gavin Joyce. He and I met at Intercom. We were trying to solve some really big problems for outbound and generating market awareness and helping sales teams do more with less. And we made tools, we built products, we had crazy experiments and ideas. And that's what started Vidu. So I'm a career seller. I more recently built an outbound team at Intercom. It was hard as hell. I figured out this problem there, which is people don't respond to emails, but yet you still put all that work in. How do we help them get noticed? How do we help them stand out? And that was really the birth of the idea of Vidu. And Vidu is a company and a tool that allows you to put GIFs, memes, other forms of creative media into your messages on LinkedIn and email, wherever it might be, to help you really stand out and do it frigging quick as well. So think of it as an alternative to video, which might take a bit of time to record and send, and maybe not everyone's going to watch it. We help you put GIFs in messages to do that way faster.
Can I just take a step back, right?
Yes.
For the dinosaurs amongst us, or maybe those people that have just been hiding under a rock, I don't know. When you talk about a GIF, and you've talked about a meme already as well, I think pre us hitting the record button on this. What is that? What is it? If you haven't seen one, maybe people have seen it and not realised what it is.
So a GIF, let's just focus on GIFs, right? It's a file format, really. And the great thing about GIFs, and they've been around for years, decades now, but they're not really leveraged and used in sales. Marketing teams might use them quite a bit. But if you've ever got an email from someone, and if ever there was what seemed to be a video within it, but it wasn't a video, it was like a picture that was moving, that was a GIF. It's probably a GIF. And maybe you use WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, and every now and again, a family friend or someone you know will send you a GIF. It's like a moving image, right? Someone's in there and waving or doing whatever. GIF is just a file format that we use to express ideas, share video, right, in form of something that's playable, consumable within an email or a messenger without redirect. That's what a GIF is. Like, and traditionally they've been used. If anyone's not aware of GIFs, go to giphy.com, right? Just type that in, giphy.com. You'll understand immediately what a GIF is, right? And they're somewhat like woven into the cultural, social fabric of society by this stage in a very specific way. People use them to generate humor, raise awareness around topics, pretty much like emojis, just to communicate expression and ideas. But in sales and in a business context, they're really under leveraged. And so what we're trying to do with them now is not create silly and funny gifs of your favorite friend's character or something fun or jestful in that way. It's actually to really leverage the GIF as a file format to show them who you are, right? And show them a message that you care about, that they care about. It's less about pop culture and getting a laugh now. It's more about, well, how can we put something in an email that immediately plays as soon as it's opened? What's that message? What do we want to communicate? And that's what our business is all about.
So
Does
I want
that
to
help?
no, that's brilliant. Thank you. I want to take you back to the conversation that we had. So I asked a question on LinkedIn, which is around, do they really work? And I think, we get, all channels get this question, so it's not isolated to GIFs or creative media. People say that about the phone, they say that about email, and the answer is always, it depends, right? The answer to everything is, it depends on how you use it, when you use it, what it looks like. But I think my point that we opened up, and this is how we kind of got to know each other, was around, does it work as that first point of contact in a sales outreach? So my personal preference at that time, maybe based on the ones that I was getting, and I'm open to the idea that it's the quality of them, not the channel itself, was that I was getting them later in the sales process where I had a relationship with somebody, and it might make me laugh, it might make me connect, or it might make me just respond in a certain way. But when I got it as a first point of outreach, it didn't land. It didn't feel like that was the right place for it to be. I'm just keen to just go back to that conversation and get your take on that.
Yeah, it's where you use these things is incredibly important. And the reason I send funny gifts to my wife or my friends, and the reason they laugh at them and appreciate them, is because they know me, right? There's a trust built up, a rapport, a relationship. They understand my personality, my style. They can see more than just this image, this asset that I've shared, but they understand the meaning behind it. They know me, right? It's funny. What I'm saying is, I think humor requires a little bit of a relationship to really land well. And maybe that's why for you later in the cadence, it worked a little bit better because there was a bit of familiarity built up. Now, putting GIFs into messages early in a sales cycle, so like day one, let's take that as an example, it can be risky. Any old GIF, slapping in like a silly GIF. So maybe you put like a seal in and it's waving and you say sup or whatever, like just pick a random GIF, let's say. Is that appropriate, right? Do you know them? Do you know that they might like that? Would they appreciate that? Who are you to go and slap that into a message? Like, this is a professional conversation that we're hoping to have. There's a lot of risk associated with it. And that's what people used to do a long time ago. They just take these sorts of gifts, and it was really focused in a humorous way, and used in the wrong setting or with the wrong persona, it wouldn't land well. So here's where I'd add a little bit of context from Vidu. Early in that sales cycle, email one, it's not about, for me, getting a laugh. I mean, you can do, right, if you want to. It's more about saying, well, we have to send emails, right? We have to cold call, we have to video, we've got to send the email. The problem with email is that so many people get a message, and it doesn't matter how succinct or brief it might be, they'll pattern match it to another prospecting message they got, especially if you go in high. They get prospects to do all the time. And within 3 seconds, they'll just archive it. I know I do, and a lot of prospects do. They'll just move on, right? If we put a video in there, it's a bit heavy, they have to click on it, have to watch it. Think about using GIFs less to get a laugh there and more to really show them, like, send a GIF of yourself holding a message or sharing an idea. It's about taking maybe a dense portion of text and then turning it into something that really jumps out, that really signals to them, well, this is what the conversation is about. This is what we're talking about. So I'm a really big, passionate believer in GIFs aren't going to work for everybody. And if you don't have great messaging, and if you don't understand your buyer and your persona, you can send all the GIFs you'd like, but it's the wrong type of attention that you're gathering, So using them early can absolutely work, and I see it work all the time. But I got to be honest, you do need to be deliberate in what you're saying. Like, this sounds so cheesy, but with great power comes great responsibility, and we don't want attention for attention's sake, right? It's an important currency that we want to earn the right to have, and so messaging is absolutely paramount.
Yeah, a couple of interesting points came to mind when you were talking there. One was around it's that differentiation. It's how do you stand out early in the sales process? Because you're right, send me a text-based email. and it's got to do something pretty special to get my attention. But here I am talking about those gifts that I've received. So to some degree, that differentiation has been achieved. But I like your point, and that's point one. Point two is around the you as a person, and I think probably where I'd been exposed to this was around what I would describe as silly, humorous gifts. And don't get me wrong, I'm quite silly as a character. I'd like to think I've got quite an out there sense of humour, and I'm not known for being straight-faced at all. But I think when you are in the middle of business mode, dealing with financial budget, trying to make strategic decisions on how to grow your business, something pops into my inbox, and it's I'll use your example. It's a seal balancing a ball on his nose, and it's got nothing. No relevance. I'm thinking, thanks for distracting my day, but actually, I'm not in that mode. I'm not ready for that right now. And I think your point around the face, the human, there's a lot of outreach that is not humanized, and I'm very critical of the email because it reduces that human element. The phone, it's in there. Video, it's in there. I can see your face, I can see your expressions, I can hear your tone on the phone.
You can communicate so much through a video.
A GIF, it removes the human element, and we rely on that to sell. And I think that's a really interesting point. And so is that a standard recommendation for you? If you're going to go out straight away, use your face, use you, not cartoons and that sort of stuff early in the sales process?
Absolutely, yeah. Because of what you just mentioned, right? Cartoons and fun things and like memes now in general, right? Just silly commentary on like social happenings or whatever it is. Really effective, but when there's a bit of trust, rapport, context established, you know, like you said, the first point of contact, whether it is a call, a video, or an email, in my opinion, it's absolutely precious. You know, you've got one shot to make a first impression. Don't fuck it up. Maybe if you're lucky, they'll ignore you. Great, you get another shot. Right, but if they open that message and they decide that you're not worth their time, like they send you a silly GIF, and you go, it's very unlikely that you're going to respond to a message further through that cadence. So you're going to be open and receptive to a message from them later. So the first message is precious. I'm a really big fan, and I would recommend, putting a GIF in there that shows you, that humanizes you, that creates something. And it doesn't mean to say that they go, holy smokes, Owen's a real person. This is an amazing message. I'm going to respond to him right now. No. Maybe they do, and a lot of people do. It's more about signaling to them that you're real, that you have an idea, a message, a question, something focused on them that you want to say and show them. And then you've got the rest of your email, right? But immediately you become memorable, you become human. And then the idea then is when you call them on day 2 or day 3, I remember you. Even if they don't say it, they remember you. This is why video is so powerful, because it creates an experience and a rapport and a connection. But the Achilles heel of that is, well, what if they never click and go and watch it? And that's really the specific problem that we're trying to solve with GIFs. And that's why I'd absolutely recommend that you use them early in a sales cycle, because they're very accessible for the prospect. Just don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up. Don't send the wrong GIF.
Yeah, I love that. I'm keen to. You may or may not be able to think of these off the top of your head, but if you can, fantastic.
Come on.
Have you got any examples that have just you remember from either your client base or you guys at Intercom or what you're doing there that just is a really good one that you love that works really well? And on the other hand, if you've got one that's just gone full and flat on its face, whether it's somebody else doing it, or you just think, oh, that was the wrong way to use it.
I forgot we were on video, actually, and I can show you these things. So, all right, okay. So one time I saw somebody put a sheet on their head and pretend to be a ghost. They were like, hey, am I being ghosted? And this card here, this is like a little green screen, right? So you make the GIF of you, this is the scene, and then this card is the personalized element within it, the message, the imagery, whatever, the website. Check it out. Anyway, so the ghost one was funny. It's pretty niche. I wouldn't use it with everybody, but that one was funny.
What was the message in that one, though? What did it say?
So it was something to the effect of, hey, Owen, got a feeling I might be getting ghosted here. And the ghost is kind of shrugging, you know?
Yeah, love it. Okay.
And then you get a lot. By nature of that message, it's not a day one message, right? It comes later in the case. What do you have to lose, you know? But really good ones. So there was a fella from Localize, right? They're a translations company. And he held this up, and he's a juggler. So he was juggling these balls like this in his GIF, and then he dropped all the balls, and he looked at the card, and he looked at the screen. And he made this little 2-second GIF of him juggling, dropping the balls, and showing them something on this card. And he said something to the effect of like, you know, just managing localization ever feel like this to you? You know, as if to say you're trying to juggle many things at the same time. That was fun. Can I keep going? Because there's one more.
Please, yeah.
Yeah, okay. There was somebody that messaged the company OnlyFans, right? Public knowledge, I think, that OnlyFans are looking to shift their brand a little bit and get into new areas and sort of new areas of media. So he sent them a GIF, and he likes to DJ. So he got all his DJ decks out, and he had the headphones on, and he was scratching away like that, and he made his little GIF. And in it, again, something to the effect of, you know, let's get my music on OnlyFans, right? These are highly personal. These are very creative. And this person that made that DJ one will probably only ever use it with OnlyFans, but he made it very quick with Vidu. Some of the more, let's say, general or like broadly applicable GIFs. So like just waving at somebody works really well. And you can slap it in on LinkedIn and say like, hey, just putting a face to the name, great to meet you. Don't pitch them, just wait for that. Really good ones are when you're looking really curious, right? You're scratching your chin. Or maybe you've got a coffee cup. This one's always good. So you want to grab that coffee and we'll talk about it. Or maybe you're holding your phone, right? Or maybe if somebody doesn't show up for a meeting, I've seen people like, do you remember that John Travolta scene in Pulp Fiction where he's sort of looking around? So they'll make a GIF like that. They'll sort of look around the room. They'll be like, where are you? Why didn't you show up? Some of these are funny. I can't help but gravitate to the funny ones because I'm smiling and I like to talk about it. But there are some really serious, straightforward things you can do, like scratching your chin, shrugging, is my timing off, bump messages, like pointing up or down. Think about them as just very quick expressions of an emotion, of an idea, and you sandwich it in.
Well, you've given me some really good ones, but you didn't give me the disaster one.
Okay.
That you wouldn't normally let out in public.
No, I'll let it out. This is good because, like I said, you know, well, I didn't say this, but we're building this in public. We're a small team. There are two of us, right? And so much of what we do is community driven and supported by community. So like being honest about what does and doesn't work is important. Like, we all want to get better at this. And I'm not saying that Gifs are the be all and end all of outreach. Like, hell no. You know, so stuff that doesn't work well is I won't give you a specific GIF, but I'll give you a type of GIF that really won't ever work well. Like, I remember there was somebody, they were holding a GIF. It was really far back on the screen. You could barely read what was there. There was lots of dead space around them. And they had, this is weird, it's nothing personal to the person. They just had this really big, oversized shirt on with really big cuffs. And their hands looked really small. And they looked like a mannequin, you know. And they were too static. Right, they didn't move, and it just looked a bit wooden. That type of a GIF can be a disaster, because at that point, the emotion and the energy, the expression we're conveying, might actually be detrimental to us building a relationship. You know, so yeah, the type of GIF that doesn't perform well is when you're very rigid, wooden. Some people might even look a bit scared in front of the camera. That doesn't work great.
Are there certain profiles of people, whether that's sector, age, positions within organizations, that kind of stuff, that you find this works better or worse with? Because I'm envisaging that you would have some people that find this hilarious and others that think, what on earth is this person doing? You know, I'm thinking hyper corporate, really straight laced, bank into banking. I guess it could go one way or the other, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's something I think about all the time, right? I mean, constant contact with customers, trying to figure it out and how's it landing. And again, it comes back to the quality of the GIF, the thoughtfulness of your messaging. If you put a sheet on your head, pretend to be a ghost, and send that to, you know, a very senior contact within a fintech company, their ex-Goldman Sachs or whatever, probably not going to land well, you know. So there's an element of this which is understanding your buyer, your persona, the prospect, and mirroring that behavior. Dress like them, talk like them, really understand what they care about. They're probably not going to respond to something silly. And that's like 10% of Vidu, right? But funnily enough, they do respond really well to well-designed, pointed questions, illuminating questions that ask them, how long is it taking you to make transfers today? Doesn't need to be silly. Well, it won't get a laugh. It's not supposed to get a laugh. It's supposed to, when they open a message and it's a wall of text and they've got 10 others because they're seeing you, and so many people prospect them, immediately they see you and they understand exactly what you're trying to talk with them about. So the banking one's interesting. I personally wasn't sure how it would land either, right? And I continue to get surprised. But we work with a few companies like Paddle, Spendesk, Clio, and they go after very senior CFOs, right?
Yeah.
Paddle in particular, I put it all over LinkedIn. This is why we can talk about it. But in their enterprise segment, right, BDR enterprise, CFOs, they got a 400% increase in responses when using these Gifs in outreach. Because what was a value-rich, thoughtful email, but just pattern matched to every other email they get, they turned it into something truly experiential, right? And they didn't go OTT. They just asked a question, and they got 10, 15 seconds more attention than they would have had, and that was just enough to earn the right to get the rest of the message read and engaged with. So it really is all about the user, the time and energy they put into this. And if you have poor quality email messaging and copy, this is probably not right for you right now. We're going to amplify the wrong thing. I don't want to make this exclusion. I don't want to exclude anybody, but there's a crawl, walk, run situation we have here, right? And you're probably not going to throw someone on the phone, Owen, if they've never really had a conversation with their prospect, right? Or they've not reviewed scripts at length, right? Or they've not shadowed and worked with colleagues. It's the same for adding a GIF to an email. If your templates are underperforming, if your cadence is underperforming, adding GIFs probably isn't going to fix that right now. It's about taking great work to the next level. That's what we think of it.
Yeah, really interesting point. It comes back to that thing around, it's finding the right message, the right channel for the right person, and understanding your addressable market and the profiles within that. And I think what we talked about earlier about you send humor into somebody who doesn't want humor at the wrong time, there's a timing element there as well.
Definitely.
I'm keen to just explore something with you, which is around the notion of this being a differentiating factor, a pattern interrupt, or whatever you want to call it, where it stands out. I've often had a theory, and I talk about it a fair bit actually, that what works today won't work in 2, 3, 4, 5 years time. We've got to be evolving. And I always use the connect and sell example. 27 seconds when it came out, everyone went, "Wow, that's brilliant!" Can I have 27 seconds to tell you why I call? Now, if I hear that, I go, "Oh, they're going to connect and sell." It's the same with everything. It has a lifespan before it runs out, and I think there's a risk there potentially, and please push back on me if I'm wrong, around certain forms of gifts. And I guess it's laziness, if anything else, where I said to you the other day, I think I've had the table tennis one about 7 or 8 times in the last couple of months, where somebody's tried to get hold of me, I'm not responding, and they haven't shown me the value or given me a reason to respond. Or maybe I'm just busy and it's not important. And I get the table tennis where somebody hits a ball over one side of the table tennis and there's no one on the other side and it just lands. And they effectively say, "This is me trying to get a response from you," or something to those to that effect. And I think the problem is the first time I got it, it actually made me go, "Oh, that's quite funny." Still didn't respond, whatever. But now I've had it.
You became to resent it over time, didn't you? Yeah.
And it's funny how these things become ignorable, because I'm not sure if that's a word, by the way, but they are, because I've seen it so many times, and now you're not even differentiating. How do you? Is it about creativity? Can you always be creative? How do you keep that fresh, I suppose?
It's a really good question, and I think about it a lot. I really challenge myself and Gavin. We both do. Can I just add to it? So you're waving. Let me take your really good example, and I agree with you entirely. Face me on the screen, it's personal. I've got a really poignant question. But once I receive that 10 times, it's not poignant anymore. It loses effect, and it's. I guess my question is, how hard is it to keep creating, keep evolving, keep finding new ideas? It's as hard as it already is for sales teams, I think. Again, coming back to messaging, that question, it is about creativity. It is about something truly unique and expressive, but it's also just about being you. And this sounds a bit cheesy, but just being you. Why do we think there's so much power involved in video? And I believe this, right? It's universally an amazing way to interface with a customer or prospect. You can communicate so much value through it. Like, why do we believe that? Because it humanizes the experience. And even though you might have received 50 videos before now, if Owen sent me a video, I'd probably watch it. It's Owen, right? Video as a medium isn't perhaps the issue there. It's what sellers and individuals do with it, you know? And so to that point with Gifs, I think about, like, I agree with you, the ping pong thing, like, yeah, don't use that 50 times. Jesus Christ. You know, that's a specific GIF. It's a particular expression. But if we decouple the conversation from a GIF like that, or several of them, and think of it more as think of GIF as a file type, right? As this container for expression. And you're the subject, right? You're unique. There's no one that can replace you. And wouldn't you want to, if you could, be in front of the prospect as early as you could be? You know, that's one of the larger assets you have to hand, right? In a competitive marketplace where everyone's messaging looks the same. It's less about, and I'll say the word, right? It's less about a gimmick thing, right? That's not what really we're trying to do. It's more about what's the message we'd like to communicate, right? What do we want to say to this person? What do we want to ensure that they read and recognize? And yes, maybe then when they've received 10 or 15 of them, maybe it's another one, right? But if your messaging is on point, if you've done the work with your teams to understand what this person cares about, then all of a sudden you're in an inbox, you're being real, you're showing them who you are, and hopefully you're asking a question that illuminates a pain, that triggers something for them, that earns you the right to have a conversation. I think about it a lot, but I don't worry too much about this idea of something wearing off. I think the moment our audiences run out of steam, the moment that they exhaust all messaging, right? The moment that they lose touch with what their buyers care about, that's probably the problem, you know?
Yeah.
That's when they'll slam the phone down. That's when they'll just delete the email period. That's when they won't click on the video. I think this is just another medium of communication, and the success of it really depends on what the hell you put in. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's really fair. And as you were talking there, I was trying to just think about how I would answer that question. I think you gave me a little hint in there, which is ultimately that challenge is not isolated to this channel. Is it that challenge is whatever channel you use? You know, if I'm making cold calls, how do I not sound like I sounded 5-10 years ago? Because buyers have heard that 1,000 times and they want to be spoken to in a different way. You need to stand out. If I'm sending videos without it being GIFs or memes, you know, it's the same thing. If I'm doing a 60 seconds to talk to camera video, if I start to get those 20 times a day, they're going to have less of an impact unless they're new, they're innovative, they're done differently. And it's the same across email. And I think that it's the same problem, just in another channel. So I think that's the point there. It's not isolated to this.
You're the differentiator. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And to my understanding of it, that's what your folks do at their marketing as well, right? You go into these businesses and you help them really review and understand their sales processes. And maybe we'll recommend they use cold calling, or maybe we'll review their cadences for them, or we'll offer them video, or whatever it is. But that's the really hard problem to solve. Not everyone's in a position to solve that right now. And hence not everybody should cold call immediately, or send videos, or even put GIFs in messages. You know, that's the persistent problem there that I want to try. You know, it's funny because I'm noticing this, right? And I'm trying to, just being very open, I'm trying to think of ways to overcome that. Like, not every company I work with is, I would say, in a position to leverage all of Vidu, right? To really supercharge their work. And with some folks, I'm having to really slow down and become more of a consultant. And I'll even help review cadences and rebuild content for them at times. Maybe marketing can help you with that. It's a big challenge in sales.
Yeah, look, you know, that's not reflective of the platform itself or the technology. It's reflective of the way that people use it, and that's the challenge with sales enablement or sales tools, is that, you know, they're only ever as good as the people, organizations, and the processes behind them that are using them. Well, I've got one more question, just around how you integrate this with other channels. So, you know, I asked you a question in a conversation a couple of weeks ago around, can you just run a sales process using this, or, you know, does it need to be blended in with other channels, and therefore where does it work best in the sales process and around what channels? I'd love to just get any commentary narrative you've got around that point.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll say no. You can't just use Gifs. You can't. I mean, maybe you can. I've not tried. Nor would I. I don't think. But for me, like, great sales is not exclusive to one channel, right? It is a blend, and it needs to be, because we have to be constantly taking feedback from the market as to what does and doesn't work. And if you're not leveraging every tool at your disposal, within reason, you don't want to dilute your focus. But if you're not leveraging every tool, every channel, you're likely missing a trick, right? So I wouldn't ever encourage anyone to like over-index on Gifs, nor would I say go and send loads of videos or make loads of cold calls. There's a blend, right? There are some places at which Gifs make perhaps more sense, given the economics of how they work for the buyer and for the seller. So just to get really specific now, putting Gifs in a first trust message, really big fan of that. Because from a seller's perspective, you can make these things in a couple of seconds, right? They're very, very quick, frictionless to create. You drag them into a message, you pop them in, and then when the prospect, the recipient, receives it, they open it, it immediately plays.
Yeah.
This is a big part of what we want to try and do with Gifs and this type of media. Is it's this frictionless, this seamless prospect experience. We don't want them jumping through hoops early in a cycle, early in a cadence. I don't know you, I don't owe you. Why the fuck would I click on a link? Right? It's my opinion and what I see. So Gifs are really well suited to express short form information in a human way early, right?
Yeah.
And then I would stop me at any point. Gifs I love at the start. I might use them throughout as bumps, as a way to draw attention back or bring meaning to other messages throughout the cadence. At the end of the cadence, I might use it as a breakup style thing. But I would absolutely use video. I'd probably use video at step 3 or 4. I'd be using a tool like Sales Loft or Outreach to measure intent, right, and interaction of a prospect. As their intention increases, as their score increases, as their likelihood to respond or convert increases, I would increase my investment of time, hence video. Cold calling, and this might be a really good discussion for you and I, but maybe it's because I'm not good at it. I don't know. I just don't like having cold call as the very first touch. I think if we're going to send an email and we accept that we're going to do it, just do it first. Put it in an inbox. Build a foundation, a platform, a little bit of context. Give the prospect a framework so that when you call them up, it's okay. I have a semblance of what this might be about. So for me, I love email first. I love LinkedIn right after. Right? I love building a more memorable, recognizable experience. I love cold call immediately after that. Video comes shortly after that because it's a higher investment of time. And then sprinkled throughout that entire flow is going to be some more emails, some more social, some more calls, etc. Maybe some mail if you're feeling like you want to use Reach Desk or something like that. But to go full circle, there is no silver bullet. And I definitely wouldn't encourage you to just use Gifs. You've got to use all forms of outreach and media, but be cognizant of how much time you're spending in each area and the return you're getting on that. There's a reason why people blast out 200 emails a day. I don't agree with that, right?
No.
There's a reason why people do it. And there's also a reason why people send 5 emails a day, right? It's about finding an appropriate investment of your time measured against deal value, likelihood to respond, and all the other shit you have to do. So bit of a wishy-washy answer. I don't think there is a clear answer, to be honest.
No,
do it all. Do it all.
Really valid point. And we're here to listen to your opinion and get your experience out. And I think there's some really, really good points in there. And I think, ultimately, we always going to go back to the kind of all channels work if they're done well. No channels work if they're done poorly. And this is a great option going into the right audience with the right level of investment of creativity and effort and thought. And I think I've certainly learned some things, and I've got some creative ideas in the back of my head already going off of you talking. Don't worry, no ping pong tables and no seals, so we're all right on that front. Maybe some other animals, I don't know. Seriously, really, really interesting talking to you about it, and I'm sure that people listening and watching would have learned a couple of bits. If people want, so first and foremost, who could be using Vidu or who should be using Vidu? If they want to find out about Vidu, where can they go? How can they get in touch with you?
So mostly everybody within a customer-facing role could use Vidu in some capacity. And I think we kind of teased out like less Vidu, but just the different ways you can use Gifs and where it's appropriate. So hopefully a lot of people connected with that regardless of role. But we're a small team. There are 2 of us. Our focus is really on serving SDRs, SDRs, BDRs. It's people that have a target hanging over them of 10, 15 ops a month, calls they have to book, meetings they have to qualify. And it's them sending it out. I don't know, maybe talking to 80 to 100 accounts to do that, maybe 400, 500 contacts in a month. It's not ridiculously high volume, but it's people that don't have inordinate amounts of time to go super deep, hour, 2 hours with every one of their prospects. If you're an SDR that has to hit quota this month or next month, and you want 1 or 2 extra ops, that's who we built this for. It's a very fast, frictionless way for you to personalize your outreach. You've got to be good at what you do, right? As in, you need to understand your buyers and your personas. But if you've got good messaging, putting it into a GIF can really amplify and help stand out that content. So that's who it was built for. If you go to vidu.io, you can sign up for free. Check it out, use it. I'll apologize now for the pitch. I told Owen I wasn't going to pitch. I'm kind of playing this whole thing back in my head, and I'm like, I've pretty much just pitched the whole way through. Do you know what? There's no one else that does GIFs. I can't talk about GIFs without talking about myself. So there you go.
There you go.
Anyway, sign up for free. Try it out.
Do you know, just one last point from me. Well, something that's really stuck with me from this is the fact that it plays automatically when it opens, and that word you keep using, frictionless. I love that, because I hadn't thought about that. The fact that, you know, you have no choice but to consume it as a buyer. So if it's good, you're going to see it, versus hey, I sent you a video, static thumbnail, I've got to click on it, and I've got to choose to engage in that. I think it's a really, really strong point and case for GIFs.
And to that point, right? A great GIF is not a substitute for a great video, you know. But maybe a great GIF is absolutely appropriate first touch when they don't know you, right? And you can express that message without making them go through those hoops. Can I offer a funny point?
Please.
Okay. My wife, she works in sales enablement. The pillow talk is riveting. And it's very good. It's very good. And so she got a video from someone the other day on LinkedIn. And it was something along the lines of, hey, notice you've got this new role. That's really cool. Love to learn about XYZ, right? I've made you a video. And that kind of struck me, and that really brought home the point of what we're trying to do, Gavin and I. Again, I'm on the pitch thing. But this friction, right? We're talking about this friction. I made you a video, and by way of that fact, I've earned the right to take your time and click on it. Like, we talk so often, sales leaders and just the market as a whole, I think we're all pretty accepting of the fact that people don't have a lot of attention. If you can't get a point across in 5 to 10 seconds, you're kind of screwed, right? So at what point did we say, and these are the same people that say, you got to be brief, you don't, you know, make the email really punchy. It needs to be like 20 seconds or less, consumable on a mobile phone. We all believe it, right? And then the same people say, yeah, send them a 1 minute 30 video, right? Yeah, that's a great idea. Like, get them to click it. Get them to click the page that comes up and says, do you want to be redirected? Get them to wait to load. And so we did that with this person, full loop. We did that with this person. And then, you know what the video was? It was, hey, congratulations. It was a repeat of the email. Congratulations. I just really love to learn about this, this, and this. When can we get 15 minutes? So not only did this person assume that just because they used a video, they had the right to my wife's time, but they also thought that when they got it, they could just ask for a call nonsensically, right? So, and this is funny, because I'm actually not saying that video is bad. I'm not. I'm saying that what we've discussed today, it's all about what you put into it. All about what you put into it, right? And so there are holes we can poke in video, in GIFs, in calls, in all sorts. But I'm a big believer in finding appropriate points in that cadence, dependent on your buyer's willingness to give you their time, depending on your willingness to give them your time and resource. And it's solving that equation. That's the problem that most people really need to solve.
Spot on. Absolutely spot on. Will, thank you so much for joining us. Really enjoyed talking to you. I'm a convert. I'm a fan. I'm getting into it. I tell you, I'm getting into it. And guys, thank you for tuning in today and listening. Will, maybe what we should do is in 12 months' time, come back and let's look at how GIFs have evolved. Let's look at how people are using them as they become more and more widely embraced. But genuinely enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much.
I'll be out on the mean streets of Dublin slinging my GIFs to anyone that wants them. Like, that's how it's going to go. We'll take over the world. We'll take over the world.
Yeah, there's so many jokes that come up with slinging my GIFs, aren't there, as a phrase? But we'll leave that for another day. Will, thank you so much for joining us.
Chat,
really appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks a lot.